What if the BBC's flagship political show wasn't just reporting the news, but helped shaping the narrative that Labour are already failing? Because when Laura Koonsberg brings Labour ministers on her show, it's not just about holding power to account, it's about telling a story. And lately, that story's clear. Labour promised the world and delivered a mess. Yet even when Labour try to talk about solutions, they get cut off. Literally.
I expected much more from them, would have expected Labour to have pulled themselves together sufficiently.
Everything that they promised and said that they were going to do, nothing's really come of it as of yet. I don't know, I don't have much confidence.
Going to the more recent, the PIP, changing that, and then what happened, within his own party, that was worrying. Again, another U-turn. And because it's more recent, it pushes that idea that there is little direction, I guess.
Do you think that what we've seen in this first 12 months is a fundamental difficulty, that this government is never going to sort of find a mojo? Well, Bridget Phillipson, disappointing. Try harder or you'll lose your job. Disappointing, you're fired. What goes through your mind when you hear that?
This isn't subtle. Laura frames the entire Labour government through the lens of disappointment, mirroring every bit of criticism from that panel. But wait, when Labour try to explain their side, that balance disappears fast.
It is undeniable that we had a really tough inheritance on lots of fronts, but I hear from voters...
Plenty of voters say they've had enough of you blaming the previous lot.
Yeah, and I think it is important to put it in context, but I also hear that a year on, what people want is delivery. They want change. They want to see that difference. It comes down to the fact that lots of families right across the country are still continuing to struggle with the cost of living, and the practical, tangible changes that we're delivering over the course of the next year, whether that's through new free breakfast clubs, expanding free school meals, cutting the cost of school uniform, increasing the national minimum wage.
But if we look at the last 7 days, you say you've been busy fixing the foundations. This week, you smashed away some of the bricks of one of the plans that you did have. He was not on top of what was happening in Parliament. Public sentiment is against you. Do you acknowledge that actually it's not just people being impatient? Some people are incredibly disappointed, and the Prime Minister's authority was brutally damaged this week by your own side.
Making sure that in every local area, in every council area, young parents have got access to the support that they need. So at the earliest possible point in our children's lives, there's really high quality access to early years education and childcare, to health services, practical things like breastfeeding support, health visiting support, family and parenting support. We know that it's a struggle at the moment for lots of people. This is a big investment, and it's the kind of change that you only get with a Labour government. No Conservative or Reform politician would be sat here today saying that we're investing £500 million of extra money into Best Start family hubs.
Hang on a minute.
No politician would be saying or doing that.
Well, hang on a minute, but I want to read people what was in the Conservative manifesto on family hubs. We have already delivered family hubs in 75 local authorities. We will deliver a family hub in every local authority in England. And the Conservatives had put £300 million towards this. You're putting 500 million a few years later. We all know how high inflation has been. This is a continuation of exactly what the Conservatives were doing, Bridget Phillips.
It's almost scripted. Bridget talks about long-term change, Laura yanks it back to Tory talking points, and the audience is tired of hearing about the past. But the past is what destroyed those services.
What the Conservatives did in 2010 was to...
This
is relevant. This is relevant. They came in and they cut a scythe through the Sure Start programme, one of the proudest achievements of that last Labour government, that has been demonstrated to make a real difference to children's academic attainment, to reduce hospitalisations and to better support families. That was one of the first things they did. And then they came along later and put a bit of extra money in. It wasn't enough. We are going further. We are revitalising family services. We'll make sure that it's properly joined up with a digital offer alongside that for parents, and with a massive expansion in early years education. It is fine to promise these things in a manifesto, but not have any mechanism of delivering it. And like everything that they said in that manifesto, there was no plan to make it happen. This Labour government is putting in place the long overdue support that families have been crying out for such a long time. Communities that were left behind, cast adrift and forgotten by the Conservatives.
You care very passionately about it. We can see that, but it is absolutely pertinent to point out this is exactly what the Conservatives had started.
This is what it looks like when Labour fights back. Bridget doesn't just parrot slogans, she brings evidence, history and a moral case. But in this format, even that gets squeezed out.
in the 2020s.
And it's absolutely pertinent
And
for
you are
me to say that they
continuing.
wrecked Sure Start. They
Indeed, but we've
absolutely
got a lot we could
destroyed
talk about,
it,
but that's
and we will rebuild it.
And that is absolutely legitimate for you to say that, but also legitimate to point out that to the audience that that was a decision made in 2010. And one of the things we heard strongly from that focus group is that people sometimes feel they've had enough of you pointing out things that happened in the past. Let's talk
And I'm talking about the future, and I'm talking about what we're doing today.
So let's talk about...
So that's a translation of please don't remind people who just broke it, just tell us how you'll fix it with no time, no money, and don't worry, we'll interrupt your answer. This isn't journalism, this is narrative management. They say Labour promised too much. Maybe. But after what the Tories left behind, Labour didn't start this mess. They're the ones trying to clean it up. Oh, and props for this guy for calling out the woman believing in the reform nonsense.
Very misunderstood.
I think he's more relatable to the people, to the average person, where some politicians at the present seem far removed. They're so in another world because they're usually public school educated. They can't relate to the average person.
Nigel Farage was
Sorry.
public school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, whereas actually Keir Starmer is working class, but he does present that. So Nigel Farage puts on this image of being one of the people, but actually he went to private school.
Okay, that's interesting.
Laura Kuenssberg is just one of the reasons why you shouldn't trust the media, and there's more in this video that's on screen now, so go watch that next. Thanks for watching, don't forget to hit that like button, and I'll see you next time.